Could you tell us, tomatoes are kind of tricky to grow sometimes, and I think a lot of people out here probably are planning to grow some tomatoes. Tell us what you've learned about growing tomatoes, planting tomatoes, and something that'll help to maybe guarantee success.
There's no guarantee. Main thing in tomato that you get, you put some fertilizer on them naturally. I put a small handful of lime on each plant. Keep from having blossom rot. And if I forget to put my lime and when tomatoes start having a blossom rot on it, I'll go in there at that time and put the lime around the tomato. And that helps keep away the blossom rot.
If you've not grown tomatoes before, blossom end rot is actually what it is, and your tomato will get a rotten spot on the bottom of it. It'll look like a brown circle, and it'll be flat and kind of mushy, and eventually it'll ooze a little bit. And some people cut that off. My wife just won't look at them. We throw the whole tomato away. And that's because of a lack of calcium. Our soil here is a little bit low in calcium. And that's what causes that. And by him putting a little handful of lime right in the hole when he puts his tomato in, guarantees that it has that. This is something that will help to correct it also. It's called rot stop, blossom end rot stop. You spray this right on the plant, right on the tomato itself. And it takes several days, but it will stop. And I did that. But we threw away a lot of tomatoes before it finally, I finally got this on, and it kicked in, and then we were able to save them the rest of them. So there is a way to do that, and it will turn your tomato stalk kind of chalky looking. It's literally lime that the leaves are pulling in and using to correct that. Another thing that can do it is when it's been dry for quite a while, and then you get a lot of rain, so real dry and real wet tends to cause that also. So be aware of that. Now, a little trick that I just found out, and I did it, I planted my tomatoes this morning, and I did it for the first time. So you can let me check with me at the end of the summer, and we'll see how it worked. But I put a raw egg in the bottom of the hole and smashed it, and then put my tomato right down on top of that, my plant right down on top of it. The eggshell will slowly dissolve, there's your calcium, and then in the yellow yolk there's some sulfur. And tomatoes need both of those. And they also got breakfast. And I know what he thinks of that idea, but I just tried it. Okay, she's got a question.
A lady this morning asked us anything to put an egg in the bottom of the hole when you
really?
plant a plant. And I said, peace of mind.
Our last possible frost date is April 15th. So I planted mine, obviously, today, so I must think that it's not going to frost anymore. So, but I know that it could, so I just watch it, and if it's going to get down in the lower 30s, I'm going to go out and cover everything up. And if you do cover, don't use plastic. If plastic touches the plant, it'll freeze them anyway. That won't protect them at all. So use some kind of a blanket, like a bed sheet or something like that. Or newspapers. If your plants are small enough yet, I'll make just a little tent out of newspaper, put a little pile of dirt on each side so it won't blow away, and you can protect them that way. Actually, the end of March, last year I planted everything in my garden at the end of March. I planted sweet corn, green beans, red potatoes, and cucumbers. I think that was everything. And I lucked out. We didn't have any frost. Yes, sir? Are there any vegetables for South Carolina that are probably just a waste of time to even try?
I can't think of one right offhand. If you like to eat it, try it.
How about carrots?
Things that you don't grow. Like you don't grow carrots.
You can grow carrots,
Yeah.
but we never did eat all that many carrots, so we never did grow carrots. We grew beets. Had to plant them early. Back to planting corn that I plant, I tried all kinds, and I come down to one kind, and I'm not going to change no more. It's Silver Queen. You cannot beat Silver Queen. So 2 years ago, Walter Hall, the boy that plants up there, gave me some kind of seed that they plant. I said, now this has got to be the right kind. He's got to beat the kind I plant. So I planted. It was good corn, it was good firm corn, but it wasn't Silver Queen. And another thing I always like to plant is okra. You get it 3 times a week. And before it produces that okra pod, it puts bloom on the stalk. And if it's blooming right, it's pretty good to look at. And you pick it when it's small, 2 inches long. If it gets 3 inches long, it's too hard. And you can get it in a few stalks of okra. You can save it. If you don't get enough on one picking, you can save it to the next picking, and you'll have enough to cook. You can fry it, you can boil it, you can put it in soup. It's good, and
But you have
it's there regular.
with okra though, you don't want to plant that now. You want to wait until how long? The ground has to be real warm before you plant okra
Probably
seed.
1st of May.
1st of May, you said. So that's one of the later things. Also in South Carolina, you can double garden. You can have 2 gardens. You can have an early garden, and then you can have a fall garden too. So what about late August? You plant your fall garden?
That's what Clemson said. I don't fool with a late garden. I don't plant a late garden.
That would be cold weather crops. So you can plant more cabbage, and you can plant.
Mustard and turnips. Mustard and turnips is a good thing to plant in the fall. Collard you plant in the fall. That's about all I think of.
When I planted my red potatoes, when I dug them all up, I missed one. One little one broke off and evidently stayed under. Actually, there were 2 stayed in the ground, which I didn't realize. Later in the summer, they came up, and then just before the first frost, I went out and dug those. They were fairly good plants, and I got quite a few potatoes. So I actually had a second crop of potatoes. The first crop planted the second crop, which was kind of interesting. She wondered if I put the plant in the tomato a certain depth or laid it on its side. You might have heard of laying a plant on its side. You can do that if the plant is real tall. If you buy a grown tomato and it's not been in a sunny window, hasn't had enough sunlight, they get real leggy. In fact, I've already planted some that wouldn't even stand up. They were kind of pale green, and they just kind of fell over. A school was growing those, and they didn't have their light quite bright enough. You just dig a trench, break off all the bottom leaves, leave the top 2 leaves on the tomato, and then just lay the whole stem and cover it up. And those top 2 leaves will just curve and grow up. That entire stem then will root and will grow down. Otherwise, I always, on an upright tomato, I always break off the lower leaves and plant it as deep as I can.
On Making It Grow, last night on TV, they had a way you could grow red worms in your house. And red worms won't stand excessive cold or excessive heat. So between 50 and 80, I believe, was the temperature they need to be. So if you try to grow them outside, you kind of lose their proposition because you lose them during the winter. I didn't know that till last night. Some things you see in this handout you got, Simpson says put nitrous soda to most everything I read when it gets about half grown or somewhere down the line. We never did put nitrous soda to nothing but corn. None of our vegetables, we did not add any nitrous soda. But I might try that to see what it does. Peas, when you plant peas, you do not put any kind of we do not put any kind of fertilizer to them. They add nitrogen to the soil. Butter beans come in the same category. They add nitrogen to the soil, but we always put some fertilizer to butter beans.